and welcome to week 2 of the Modular Progressive Pride Flag Knit Along. I am Kim, your friendly local yarn shop owner. I'm also the one who wrote the pattern. And as you can see here, I'm all set up for a demonstration. I will have the camera mostly on my hands this week, but I just wanted to pop in and say hi. So today we're going to be doing the first section, which is the white section. So all you need is your white yarn caked up and ready to go with your needles, and we will be going over casting on. We'll be going over knitting through the back loop, knitting 2 together through the back loop, knitting 2 together, and slipping a stitch purlwise. So yeah, get ready for that. If you have any questions about these techniques, best thing to do is to just do a little YouTube search. If you're struggling, like what is slip stitch? I try and go over some of this, but I'm rambling now. Let's get into it. We are going to be casting on our modular progressive pride flag. So I've got my pattern here and I've got my needles. I'm using a 2.75 millimeter because I'm doing the 4-ply flag. And these ones are from Addie. They are the novel needles. They have a very fun texture to them. It's good if you get sore hands. My hands have been playing up a little bit. I've been getting some soreness in my hand. I know that this will help. They're a bit of texture. They don't catch on the wool or anything like that, which is really nice. And then I've got my yarn here. So we've got everything we need. So I picked up my first color, which is white. Just pop those out of the way. Sorry for the weird lighting. I haven't been feeling very well all week, so I'm just doing this at night time. So hence the weird lighting. Right, so we've got everything we need here. This is my pattern. As you can see, we've got this diagram here, which is really, really helpful. It takes you step by step as to which section you're going to work next. So as you can see on the diagram here, white is the first section here. So we are going to be casting on this long bit here and then working upwards. The pattern copy that I have here is actually version 3. But there have been some errata added, so version 4 is the version I'm going to be actually working. I have little notes in here just because I didn't want to print out a new pattern, just for a couple of adjustments. So the biggest adjustment here that we have to worry about is casting on it. If you're doing the small size, which is what I'm going to be doing here, you want 34 stitches, which is an even number. So if you're doing the big size, you're going to be doing 66. And as you can see here, everything is color coded. So the big size is all of the orange ones, and those go all the way throughout, so you don't have to worry about that. And the smallest size is the blue, which is everywhere here, as well as I have highlighted the different sections in different colors as well. So you know, the white triangle here, which is section 1 here, this is referenced there. It's got white text with a black outline. That whenever I refer to section 1, it is in those colors there, which hopefully should help some of our very visually minded people use this pattern really easily. So we're going to start off, we're going to cast on 34 stitches. So one of the most important things I find when following a pattern is that you read the whole thing through. Obviously you're not going to understand everything to begin with, but at the beginning here there's usually some really important information that you might miss out if you just go straight to the cast on. But you know, it's totally up to you. You do you. Right, so casting on, you can cast on whichever way you want. Let's cast on the easiest way for beginners. So we're going to make a little slip knot like this, pop that onto our needle, and then we're going to cast on by basically knitting the stitch. Here we go. So I've got one loop on the needle there, so I'm going to put my needle in as if to knit, and I'm going to yarn over like that, bring it through, but then instead of knocking it off this needle, I'm going to pop this one back on there. I'll show you how to do that again. So pop that through like that. There you go. And this one here is going onto that needle, but we're going to take it from behind like that. Let me see if I can get a slightly closer up shot of this. There we go. And as you can see, now I've got 4 stitches. So I'm going to do that until I have 34 stitches. We're just going to double check that this is 34 before we carry on. So I like to count in 2s, but you can count one by one if you like. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34. So that's how many stitches we need. And then the first row says row 1, which is RS. RS means right side, so that's the side that's going to be facing outwards. It says to slip 1 with the yarn in front. So what that means is we can look into the abbreviations as well, and when it says slip 1 with yarn in front, we're going to slip 1 stitch as if to purl, but with your yarn in the front. So that means that I'm going to have the yarn in the front here, and I'm going to slip this stitch onto the right hand needle as if to purl. There we go. Now we're going to bring the yarn to the back in between the needles like that, and we're going to knit 2 together through the back loop. So these next 2 stitches here, we're going to knit these 2 through the back loop like that. There you go. So that has decreased a stitch now, and then we're going to knit to 3 stitches before the end. So we're going to knit all the way to 3 stitches before the end. So coming up to 3 stitches before the end. So we have 3 stitches left on our left hand needle here, and what we're going to do is we're going to knit these 2 together and then knit the last one. So see if I can get this a bit closer for you. Knit 2 together like that, and then knit 1. There you go. And what we've done is we have decreased 1 stitch on this side and 1 stitch on this side. So now we're going to turn our work around to work the row back again, and row 2, which is WS, the wrong side, it says to slip stitch purlwise with yarn in front. So again, the yarn's in the front and I'm slipping it like so, and then I bring the yarn to the back and I'm going to knit to the end. So the reason why we do a slip stitch at the beginning of every row in this pattern is to create a really beautiful slip stitched edging. And these slip stitches are actually incredibly important because they should all line up, and those slip stitches are the things you're going to be working into in the next section. So these white slip stitch edges that we're making will be worked into when we do the pink section. Knit to end. So this is the end of row 2 on our white section. So as you can see here, my cast on edge is quite loose. These little guys here are quite loose, but that's okay because we will be picking those up, making a border later on. So the cast on edge is not super important as to how neat it is. Right, this probably isn't great that I'm using a white background for this white section, but there we go. Consistency is key. So that's this bit here, row 1 and row 2, and now it says here, repeat row 1 and 2 until 4 stitches are left on a wrong side row. So that means I'm going to go, I've just finished row 2, I'm going to go back to row 1, I'm going to do row 1, then I'm going to do row 2, row 1, row 2, row 1, blah, 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 again and again. until I have 4 stitches left. So at the moment I've got quite a lot, so I will go ahead and do the beginning little bit for you, beginning and end of row 1 again, because that can be quite confusing, and I will try and do it close to the camera here, see if I can get a little more light on it. Sorry, I'm not working with the best lighting conditions. Okay, so row 1 says slip 1 purlwise with yarn in front. So yarn's in front and I'm slipping it and then I'm putting it to the back. I like to do it all in one movement. Let me just go back and show you that. So if we were doing this one at a time, we would slip the yarn over like that and then bring the yarn through the middle. But because I've done this a million times and I find it quicker, I put it in like that, and then before I take it off, I bring it to the back and just slip the whole thing off. But that's up to you. And then we're going to knit 2 together through the back loop. So these 2 stitches here are going to be decreased. So we're going to knit them together through the back loop. Sorry, it's really tiny. There we go. And now we have decreased again. And we knit to the end of the row. Okay, so we're almost there. 3 stitches before the end. Please tell me that is focusing. And then we are going to knit 2 together. And so this is just a normal knit 2 together through the front. So I'm catching both of these stitches here. If you've never done a knit 2 together before, you're taking your right hand needle and you're slipping it in both stitches like so. Oh my goodness, and I got my tail in the way. This is going so well. There we go. And then knit the last one. Boom. And then that is row 1 done again. So now we turn our work and we do row 2, which again starts with a slip 1 purlwise. So I'm going to slip that 1 purlwise, bring the yarn to the back and knit. So I'm going to keep going, repeating row 1 and 2 until we have 4 stitches left, and I'll meet you back here. Hello, I'm back and I have 4 stitches on my needle. Now, because I'm doing 4-ply, it's probably going to be a little hard to see on camera. So I got some chunky yarn here and some chunky Addi needles. These are their plastic glittery ones. And I thought I would just do a little section here so you guys can see it better. Let's see here. We're going to start with a little slip knot. Here we go. Pop our needle through there. Give that a tug. Awesome. So we're going to we're starting from section 1 again, just so you guys can get a good view of this. So we are casting on. Here we go. So I'm only going to cast on 10 stitches and see how this looks. So to slow that down for you, I am popping the needle in as if to knit, wrapping the yarn around, popping it through, and then this needle here is going underneath like that. And the way that I like to think about that bit there is that I'm taking the tip of this needle here, going underneath the loop and then bringing it up to the top. So there we go, we've got 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's double check that. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, so we've got 10 stitches on there. And again, it doesn't really matter how messy our cast on edge is, because that will be covered up at the end with a border. So same idea as before, we are going to do our right side and we are going to slip 1 with yarn in front. So my yarn here is in the front and I'm going to slip 1 purlwise. So my needle's going in as if to purl, and then I'm taking it off the needle, and then I'm going to bring this yarn through the center in between the 2 needles, and I'm going to knit 2 together through the back loop. So these 2 stitches here are going to become 1 stitch. So I'm going to take my right hand needle here and poke it into the stitches like that. Wrap the yarn around and poke this all the way through like that, and then both of these stitches come off. Now I haven't lost any stitches, I have done a safe decrease there. Now we're going to knit until 3 stitches before the end. There we go. Now we've got 3 stitches towards the end, and we're going to knit 2 together. So this is regular knit 2 together, so this needle here comes on that side of the stitch, goes through both of those 2 stitches, we wrap round, pop it to the front, and then these 2 come off the needle. And again, we haven't lost anything, that yarn is going through both of those stitches, it's nice and secure. And then we finish that last stitch like so. Wonderful. So now that row is finished, we're going to turn our work around. I'm using circular needles, but if you were using straight needles, you would just turn your work around like normal. Sorry for the squeaky chair in the background. Right, and then we go back to row 1. No, we've just done row 1. We go to row 2. So I'm going to slip 1 purlwise with the yarn in front, bring the yarn to the back, and knit to end. Knitting, 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 knitting. Okay, so that one's done. So now we turn it round, we go back to row 1. So this is the right side. Now some people like to put a little stitch marker on the right side so you know which side you're working on. You could totally do that now if you wanted to. I'm going to slip 1 with yarn in front, purlwise, bring the yarn to the back, and then do my decreases. So that's knit 2 together. Always a bit tough on these chunky ones here. Knit 2 together through the back loop. There we go. Knit to 3 before the end. Knit these 2 together. I hope this is helping you see it a bit better. Here we go. Awesome. Now we need to do a plain row, always slipping our stitch at the beginning. Okay, so we're back to row 1, slip 1 with yarn in front, purl 2 together through the back loop. So now we have 3 stitches left, so we don't have to do any more knitting, and we're going to knit these 2 together and knit 1. Now the pattern specifically says that we want to repeat row 1 and 2 until there's 4 stitches left, ending on a wrong side row. Now I've just finished on a right side row because that was row 1, that was my decrease row. So I'm going to turn that around and I'm going to go ahead and work the wrong side row, which is just slip and knit, because the next part of the instructions want us to start on a right side. Get this little guy off there. There we go. So now we have a tiny little triangle here, and as you can see on the edges we've got these big lovely chunky slip stitches here, which I will show you here. We've got a big lovely chunky slip stitch edge here. If we hadn't done that, then our stitches would be much harder to see. So anyway, so that's the cute little chunky boy, and we've got the same going on here with our lovely pixie yarn in 4-ply. So we're gonna carry on now. I'm going to show you how to do the next little section, the last bit of white on the chunky, and then I'll show you it on the 4-ply as well, seeing as I've got this in my hand. So the next set of instructions says right side, which is what we're on, slip 1 purlwise with yarn in front, bring the yarn to the back, knit 2 together. Oh, I was about to go through the back loop there. Knit 2 together. There we go. And then knit 1. And we should have 3 stitches left. 1, 2, 3, which we do. We're going to turn it round, and now we're on the wrong side. So now we're going to slip one purlwise with yarn in front, bring yarn to the back and knit the end. So you might start to notice that the right side rows are where we're always decreasing and the wrong side rows are where we're doing a sort of plain. Okay, and then the last instructions here say that on our right side we're going to knit 3 together, and that should end up with 1 stitch left. So what we're going to do, there's a couple ways you can do this. Simplest is to just put your needle here through all 3 of these like so and knit them together like that. Yeah, beautiful, easy. But the other way that you could do it, if you wanted to create a slightly different vibe, a different look, is you could slip that first stitch purlwise, bring the yarn to the back, knit the 2 together, and then slip our slip stitch over the top like that, which creates a slightly more pointed ending. Either way works really, really well. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put a stitch marker onto this last stitch and cut the yarn. So I've got myself a little stitch marker here. I'm going to open that up, pop it through that last little stitch there, and go ahead and cut the yarn. This is a big roving, so I should be able to just pull it apart. There we go. So now we've got this lovely little triangle with our little stitch marker on the last stitch and our slip stitches along the edge. So let's go ahead and do that on our 4-ply. We're going to be doing a slip 1 purlwise with yarn in front, just like we were doing before. Slip that, bring the yarn to the back and knit those 2 together. So I'm just doing the last little section here of the white bit again on the smaller yarn, and we're going to knit 1. Then we're going to turn it round, do our wrong side. We have 3 stitches left, just like the pattern says up here. 3 stitches left, slip 1 and knit the 2 stitches. And then our final row, which is our knit 3 together. So I'm going to go ahead and just knit 3 together on this one instead of doing the fancy slip. So we're going to knit 3 together like so, and now we have 1 stitch left and we have a nice little triangle. So before I lose that little stitch, just going into my pot of assorted stitch markers here, and I'm going to pop this little stitch onto the stitch marker. Now I can pull that tight, that's not going anywhere, and we're going to need that stitch for later on. So that's the first section of the modular progressive pride flag, and as you can see here we've got all these beautiful slip stitches down the side. So for those of you who've never worked slip stitches before, you're getting 1 large stitch for every 2 rows that you're knitting, which makes it a lot easier when you're sewing things up, joining things together, or like we're going to be doing modular knitting. So there we go, there's our first little section done. And if we have a look at our diagram on the front of the pattern here, you can see here that our little triangle is the same kind of vibe there. So there we go. And remember, this cast on edge looks a bit messy just because I did it in the easiest way possible, but it will get hidden when we pick up those stitches for the border at the very, very end. So there we go. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope that if you're knitting along at home, everything was clear. I have had quite a rough week, so I do apologize if my energy levels in this voiceover have been quite low, but I am very excited to see how you guys are getting on. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you next Friday for the pink section. Hello. Please do let me know if you have any questions at all about what we went over today. Remember, there's a link in the description for our Discord channel where you can chat and show your progress. And I hope you are having a good week. I kind of am digging this tiny little chunky guy. Maybe I should right. I have to update the pattern anyway with some errata. So I was wondering maybe I should add like a teeny tiny mini flag. I don't know what you could use it for, maybe like coasters or something, but it might be kind of fun to do it. But I'll be making a little chunky one alongside this. Hopefully I have enough colors for it. But I thought it would just be nice for you guys to be able to see the big stitches as we work. Hope you have a good week. Bye. Yeah, here goes nothing. Ooh, so clumsy today. This is totally off the cuff, but I really hope that that this works. So